If there was a time for the Vancouver Canucks to focus on defense and drafting defense, it is this year. With the possibility of the Vancouver Canucks grabbing a top 3 pick, either picking Rasmus Dahlin or taking somebody in the wild card like a Boqvist or a Hughes, or the possibility of the Vancouver Canucks drafting 6th, 7th, 8th, or 9th, grabbing guys like Evan Bouchard, Bodie Wild, Ty Smith, any one of these guys who are going to be taken in this range who are also defensemen. The Vancouver Canucks have many options on defense here, and this is the year that they need to execute. Because if you want to take a look, I've said it many times before, the Vancouver Canucks defensive prospect pool, weak. Really, really, really weak. There's only one Vancouver Canucks defenseman in the system who is a definitive lock on the team going forward, and that is Olli Juolevi. And at the same time, we don't even know how good he's going to be. Nobody's really expecting him to become a top 2 anymore, but his potential seems to be there in that of a strong top 4 player and capable top 2. But at the same time, he's the only one. Could you realistically see Troy Stecher, Ashton Sautner, Ben Hutton, or Alex Edler on this team going forward 7, 8, 10 years into the future? Because if you want to take a look at who the Canucks have locked down, Horvat, yes. Besser, yes. Pettersson, Dahlin. Dahlin's a probably, but Pettersson, yeah, he's a yes too. Olli Juolevi, you could probably say is in that category as well. But other than that, there aren't really that many defensemen. So, going forward into this year's draft, this year is the draft for the Vancouver Canucks to steer this defensive boat in the correct direction. If you want to take a look at, well, there are some really good forwards here. Yeah, I was talking about this with a few of my Canucks bros on Twitter earlier, and it was brought to my attention just how strong the forward class is of next year's draft, which happens to be in Vancouver. And if you take a look at the players who are in this draft class, some of their scoring rates are off the charts. Newhook, Peyton Krebs, Jack Hughes. So many of these 2019 NHL draft picks have been getting tons of points in leagues like the OHL, the WHL, the QMJHL. It's incredible. Take a guy like Kaapo Kakko, for example, who a lot of my friends and I, we'd look at his stat page and we'd do research on this guy just because he was getting so many points, and Kaapo Kakko is a pretty sick name, not gonna lie. In school, we'd actually look at him up and be like, yo, this guy's gonna go first overall in 2019, but I digress. Kaapo Kakko is one of those guys who is tearing things up in the under 20 TPS team, 55 points in 38 games. He's 15, 16 years old right now. If you go over to Newhook, 66 points in 45 games for the Victoria Grizzlies of the BCHL, okay, you could say that's the BCHL. Things aren't really that smooth over there and transitioning into the NHL. But take a look at guys like Peyton Krebs, Dylan Kozens, and Arthur Kaliev in the OHL. These guys are on the CHL, and they're all very fantastic statistically producing players. Then you got guys like Jack Hughes and Alex Turcotte on the US development team, and things just get even better as you go down and down the list. In fact, the best defenseman in terms of offensive production in the 2019 NHL entry draft, according to Elite Prospects and their total points, it's Vancouver Giants player Bowen Byram, who a lot of people have been talking about to be a very highly touted draft pick next season as well. So if you take a look at the players next season, we got a good amount of forwards who are capable of scoring at great pace. And if we want to go over to this year's draft, we got ourselves a lot of defensemen who are getting fantastic amount of points as well. Evan Bouchard, 87 points in 67 games for the London Knights. Ty Smith is over 70 points in 69 games played for the Spokane Chiefs. Noah Dobson, Ryan Merkley, Cale Addison, these guys are all getting a ton of points as well. And overall, that's just a testament to how strong the defensive core is in this draft, not to mention guys like Hughes, Boqvist, and Dahlin. The Vancouver Canucks need to take this year to take some time and draft some capable defensemen in the first few rounds. The best defenseman we took recently, other than Olli Juolevi, it was Guillaume Brisebois, taken in the 3rd round a few years ago. The Vancouver Canucks, we're in a position where we really need to get more good defensemen. Olli Juolevi by himself is not going to cut it. Guillaume Brisebois, we don't know if there's an NHL future there. Free agents, that's cool. Troy Stecher, yeah, okay. But still, more draft picks wouldn't hurt. Jolin Chatfield doesn't have a guaranteed NHL future either. So if we go into this draft, we need to take guys who will help our team, positionally speaking. And I know, I've made a ton of videos talking about why I want guys like Joe Veleno and Oliver Wahlstrom and forwards and all that. I've made videos about that. And that's because if we got these guys, I genuinely would be fine with having them. But if it were up to me, we need to pick a defenseman. And at the same time, I understand that if we picked like Oliver Wahlstrom over a guy like Ty Smith or Evan Bouchard, I'd be fine with that. Because all the players that I talked about in my Why I Want videos, these are all players that I would legitimately want. And if we grabbed them, I'd be okay with that. But if it were up to me, we need a defenseman. If we want to get the best out of this draft, we need to move assets. We need to acquire a second first-round pick, maybe from a playoff team, so we can grab another defenseman going into the second round. Maybe guys like Jet Wu, or Alexander Alexeyev, or Ryan Merkley. Any one of these guys would also be a good contributing factor to the Vancouver Canucks defensive core. Don't get me wrong, I love forwards. If we grab more forwards in this draft, as long as they're good, I'm a-okay with having them. But we need defensemen. And this is the year to get it done. Because this is the year that we're seeing so many capable defensemen in our draft potential slots. All of these guys are capable, these top 10 talents, top 5 talents, number 1 talents, let's be honest here, Rasmus Dahlin. These are all players who will solidify our defensive core going forward if we're able to grab them, develop them as they should develop. And going into the draft, next year, it's going to be great if we want to take a lot of star forwards, because there are going to be a lot of star forwards. And so many of these kids coming into the 2019 draft are so offensively capable, and they're all forwards too. If we wanted high-scoring threats, we would grab them in the 2019 draft, not to mention the fact that the 2019 draft is in Vancouver. Things are going to be great when Jim Benning steps up to the podium in Rogers Arena and announces our 2019 draft pick. So, with all that said, I think that the best course of action here is to just plan out things. Plan out where everybody's going to go. Of course, the draft lottery is in a few days, and we need to just make assumptions, make educated guesses as to what we need the most. If we're in a position where Rasmus Dahlin has slid all the way down to 9th overall and we had to choose between Joe Veleno and Rasmus Dahlin, we'd go with Dahlin, yes, of course. But if we had to choose between Joe Veleno and a guy like Ty Smith or a Noah Dobson, that's a decision where I believe you can't go wrong with any of these picks. Because at the same time, I already said it, guys, I want every single one of the players that I made, I want videos about. So at the same time, grabbing defensemen, that's the best course of action. Grabbing forwards, as long as they're good, I'm good with it. But going forward, the Vancouver Canucks really need to find a way to fix that hole in their defensive core. Whether that be trading for guys like Ristolainen, or grabbing other guys like Lucas Spiza. We need to find a way to find players who will solidify this core going into the future. Right now, we don't have that. Olli Juolevi is the only one in there. Of course, we got other D-men coming up. Jack Rathbone looks like he might be very promising depending on how he plays in Harvard next year. Then we got Nikita Trampkin, who... oh boy, I hope he comes back to Vancouver. Then we got other guys in the system too, like Brett McKenzie. He's having a great offensive season. But at the same time, none of these guys are definitive locks. And this is what I'm talking about here. Locks. Because the lack of locks is the reason the Canucks need to go out for a defenseman, and maybe even more defensemen in this year's draft. Because I've said it before, and I'll say it again, the Vancouver Canucks really have a good opportunity here. Because any one of the players that we grab, they're going to be helping our team out in the future. We tanked, sort of. We got a sort of high pick. At least it looks like it might be high, depending on if we win the lottery. If we don't win the lottery and all 3 teams that were below us win the lottery, then we stay at 6th overall. We're in a position to really draft another fantastic player. And I trust Jim Benning, I trust Judd Brackett and all that, to grab an effective player for us going forward. But I just really hope that we grab more defensemen. We can save the forwards for next year. That would be fantastic. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Plus, not just rolls like that for saying gaming, and bye.